Okay.
Oh, nice.
Mm. Mm.
Not yet. I'm calling. Yeah.
And Perry left.
Oh.
Oh. I think his Wi-Fi, he said he's gonna change it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I will go ahead. Just put this here.
Okay.
Just start
Well,
it and you find it. Okay.
yeah. We're wait 2 more minutes and then we'll start with it because we don't want to take too much time. And we only
I'm
have an
back.
hour to room.
Yes.
Welcome back, Betty.
Hello.
Right.
I'm already back if you're waiting for me.
Yes.
Yes,
In the
Linda.
joint. Hello, hello.
If you all can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to confirm the lens there. Now we're ready to start the final presentation meeting. And we want to showcase everything we did throughout the project. And of course, recap a little bit as well. Since it's the final presentation. I think, let me double check the lens there. Okay, yes, everybody's here. And I want thumbs up from everybody so that we can start. And everybody can listen to us. Yes, everything's good. All right, perfect. I think we're gonna start it then. Welcome to the final presentation of the Morro City Hunt project, the AR/VR experience. Yes, first we're gonna start with the topics. Well, the topics of discussion that we're gonna go through today. If the presentation will work, of course. We're gonna go through a little recap of everything we did, our research questions, then our requirements and our goals, the design process, the prototype, a prototype demo, the use test and findings, the challenges, key insights, and future improvements, and finally, the reflection. All right, for the small little recap, as you may remember, we first started off the project with our main research question, which is how can a new AR/VR experience be designed to facilitate meaningful and in-depth conversations between participants about ethical dilemmas surrounding drone and / future technology in urban environments. And from here, we also identified our requirements with the stakeholders throughout communication with them. We found out that this experience has to be a VR/AR experience created for 2 participants and 1 moderator, targeted to the residents of Eindhoven, themed around new drone technology, and finally has to be a working prototype. Alongside this, we also defined our goals, which we wanted for the experience and the participants to express their opinions openly, reflect on their viewpoints, understand each other's perspectives, and discuss and instead of debate. And finally, through all of this, it would generate richer qualitative data from the conversations to use for moral design. So our main research key points were conversation and openness. This, we wanted to find out what makes people speak honestly and how do we need to structure for this. We wanted to find out how can we use AR/VR interaction to support discussion and what may be limiting or what must be what must be we be aware of so that the conversation can flow smoothly. We searched research, reflection, and depth is how do we move beyond first impressions with participants and how can we make them or how can we stimulate them to think deeper. Finally, empathy and experience is how do we make people better understand each other's perspectives and how can the presence be created without manipulating the participants throughout this experience. And from all these research points, we found out that For example, the conversation and openness, we introducing a moderator, that was also a must-have, creating a structured discussion flow and a balanced guidance within the open conversation. For the AR VR interaction, keeping the interactions intuitive, meaning keeping the interactions of the VR as simple and as easy to understand, designing it around the dialogue, using the VR as a shared discussion space, and finally making the experience as realistic as possible while using VR and AR, while using VR. For the reflection for the reflection and depth, adding discussion prompts, introducing sub prompts to keep the conversations flowing, and finally encouraging the participants to explain and the reasonings of why they make their choices. And finally, for empathy, we wanted to create prompts with unbiased formulation. We wanted to make sure that the objects animate as realistic as possible and avoiding pushing the participants to any directions or steer them in any way of a theme. Yes. After finishing the research, of course, and from feedback from Linda, one of our stakeholders, we found out that we should prioritize our prompts and animations to be based on drone technology, which is already being developed or being developed in the near future. That was also an important factor for our project.
Now I will be taking over for the explanation of our design process. So based off of the research that we conducted, you could point out these following design principles, which are: the design must encourage openness, support reflection, minimize distraction, foster empathy, and facilitate dialogue, not debate. But how do we do this? Well, I'm going to break down the prototype for you a little bit. So, to encourage openness, we're putting 2 participants into the experience, preferably participants that know each other, have some kind of relation. To support reflection, we're putting them in a 360-degree image of somewhere in Eindhoven as to better help them imagine what these future technologies could look like in environments that they visit often. To minimize distraction, we added a moderator into the experience to make sure that the conversations are going the right direction. To foster empathy, we visualized these same prompts so that users can understand how they will actually be functional in the real world. And to facilitate dialogue and not debate, we added these opinion scale interactions, one for each user, to make sure that each user can give their own individual opinion, as to, again, facilitate the dialogue and not have them debate over who has the better opinion or not. And finally, apart from these, we also had some design principles for ourselves that basically influenced why we ended up going with this design, and that was that it had to be achievable in a deadline, it had to be easy to implement and easy to recreate, and this would be good for us 4. Now, for a small prototype demo of what we created, bear with me because the video, I think, from the presentation is a bit laggy, but you can kind of understand the experience.
Keep in mind, this is only our first iteration demo, so we're first trying out the sticker interaction and how the participants would look like inside the 360-degree sphere. We wanted to see if they would notice let's say for this prompt example, as an example, the drop-off zone for the delivery drones, see if they would see the animation, see if they would notice, and see what they think about this in their Stripe S.
Yes. The video is definitely choppy, but
yes,
there you can see where how the prompt specifically, or this drone prompt, is illustrated. All right. But again, this is only our first version that we tested with users. So for our final user test, we did get some extra findings on top of the design that we already had. And this is how, of course, the experience looked like before, but from the feedback that we received from users, we found out that it's better to have the moderator be in the experience rather than outside. This just helps the experience as a whole feel more real,
more natural. Conversation flow more naturally.
Yeah.
And as well as we added the teleportation portals, the two next, but we found out that we can add these portals inside of Shapes XR, so we can go seamlessly throughout the scenarios without having the users to take off their headsets, put it back on to break the immersion. These two proved to be very effective. The moderator inside of the experience kept the conversations and the interactions between all the participants comfortable,
Yeah.
and the portals helped not having to take off the headsets all the time, made it easier to go through the scenarios as well.
But of course, we also face a lot of challenges still with this high fidelity prototype that we created. And those challenges are the following. So we, of course, had a few technical challenges with Shapes XR. Namely, Shapes XR, we chose to do this because it is really easy to rapid prototype AR and VR experiences. And it also, of course, has a small learning curve for it. So it was great for people that didn't have much experience in doing that. Animations during this high fidelity prototype, they require presentation mode. And what happens in presentation mode basically is that the users all cannot see each other anymore. So that also kind of feels a little bit less realistic. And also there's the occasional headset pop-up that we found. I think that's just because of Shapes XR and the headset as well, but there's a little pop-up that happens about audio and mic. It's easy to get rid of, you just have to press OK. But it is something that kind of breaks the immersion as well. As for the prototype challenges, we also had some challenges with that. Specifically, of course, the experience is currently a high fidelity prototype and not a fully realized and developed product. The scene progression is linear, which means that the order basically goes from icebreaker, prompt 1, prompt 2, prompt 3, prompt 4. So if you would like to skip to later scenarios or play scenarios in a different order, play less scenarios, that's very difficult to do as of right now. And the customization and advanced interactions are limited from the platform, which is why the interaction for the user is very simple. They just grab a sticker and they place it where they feel like their opinion is. But yes. And then finally, for the design research, we also faced some challenges there, of course, and namely, the tests were conducted here at school, so we did have a limited number of participants to work with, namely mainly students and teachers. There's also a time constraint, so we, towards the end, measured about the ideal amount of time for the conversations to last would be 20 minutes. And this can also prevent participants from experiencing all 4 prompts plus the icebreaker prompt. But it is more ideal because if users go through all the prompts, it usually can take up to 40 minutes to an hour, which is also unideal for if you want to go and place it somewhere into the real world. And also, one final thing that has to be done is results should be validated through larger scale testing. Again, we had a small group to test on. So that is definitely something that was a challenge. But everything that we have made so far also revealed a lot of key insights and valuable insights for us. One of them being shared experiences create better discussions, which basically means that putting 2 users that are in this experience together, that know each other, creates better discussions because these people know each other. So it's easier for their conversations to flow. and they feel more comfortable expressing themselves. The next is structure encourages openness. So the way that the experience is structured with the main prompts and also the sub prompts, but also as well as even this decision scale, it encourages openness between users. So of course we chose to have two separate decision scales, one for each person. And this structure encouraged people to be more open as they felt like they didn't necessarily have to defend their opinions as strongly. We also found out that reflection leads to richer data, which we actually, I think it would be better if you spoke about this. It's more about the sub prompts. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the start of the user testing, we had more we had a few sub prompts that were kind of hard to answer if our participants would say they wouldn't feel right answering because it would be like a liability or I'm not the right person to ask. So our sub prompts weren't um correctly evaluated to the participants that we are testing on. So we decided to make our subprompts a bit more personalized since I found myself as I was the moderator, I would give them examples. For example, let's say we were in the drone surveillance in the nature prompt, and I would give them, what if you were in the forest and you break your ankle and they send this drone? That type of subprompt, of course, that's just a more of a in the moment. That's not really a subprompt, but a more personalized subprompt would make them think about more themselves and instead of a general.
Yeah.
Instead of general.
Yeah.
So it
So
would
helping them like put
themselves
in
in
the situation.
exactly.
Yeah. And so that also helps them reflect on how some future technology could look for them, which leads to richer data because then they continue it. I think it's easier for them to talk when they view it as a personal prompt. But yes. And the last one is technology should support and not dominate. And this basically means that sorry, my laptop. The technology should support. So the main experience is not that they are necessarily put in VR. That's just the means to send them into a future scenario. But the real core of the project is the conversations themselves, as we know, and the conversations that the people have together and the information that we receive from that. But yes. All right, then you can go ahead and
About the future improvements.
yes.
We're going to talk about long-term and short-term improvements that could be added right now or in the future that will improve the project as a whole. For short term, developing the experience in Unity would be beneficial since using Shape6R is very limiting. And by doing this, you can improve the animations and make the environment more realistic, as well as you can add customized avatars since right now they're pre-selected and it doesn't really give the users a chance to personalize their their how do you say this?
Their character.
Their character.
Yeah.
As well as improving audio design, example, using the drone sounds. We have one prompt that had drone sounds side of it to test out how the users will react and respond to the sounds being inside of the environment. It proved to be a bit distracting, but we wanted to make it as realistic as possible so that people could be aware that this is how the drone would sound in this scenario or how the drone would react in this scenario so they can keep that in mind for their opinion or what they answer and maybe think about as well. For long term, of course, test with more people and diverse audience. Since we are at school, we tested mostly with students and teachers. So our answers are very I say in a box. There are varied amounts of different students, but obviously if you go test in a different area, you will get different amount of answers. Of course, expanding to other cities and other cities and topics. Since right now we mostly put it for Eindhoven, And I think the whole plan is to move it to other cities, to apply it to other cities. So always you can use different topics, since we chose mainly 4 topics to create in ShapesXR so that people can discuss on. But there's a bunch of more topics to talk about. And finally, create a scalable platform for public engagement and moral discussion. What do we mean by this? Of course, when we were making the project, we had feedback from teachers to make a storyboard and think about the onboarding and the offboarding. And this is where we thought about how do we get people to this experience, or how do we how do we get people to come to us and do this research study without for us, right? And one of our ideas we came up with was adding a trailer in the middle of the stop. So in the center. So just like as you see Coca-Cola with their stands to giving out free Coca-Colas, or the bike repairs. So people come to them to get their bikes fixed or get some free Coca-Cola. And this will be the exact same premise, where the trailer will be promoting the experience, and people could see, and they could come to this VR experience where they can find out more about the new technology in their city. And that in this, now we wouldn't have to go to people and find them. They could see it in the stop, and they can be excited. They can come to us instead of us going to them. And this also would, since the trailer, you can move this around to any other city, and also makes it easy to move it around, as well as the experience will happen inside. Since you only have two people and one moderator, a trailer size it's perfect for this experience. Since you will have the participants sitting down, and works.
So you don't need a lot of room to do this experience anyway.
Actions.
Yes. So from our reflections, we found out a few different things, and we kind of narrowed or shaped it down to this final text, which is we worked in a completely new medium that was new for all of us, and that really forced us to rethink how we design experience beyond traditional screens, as we all mostly have experience designing on traditional 2D screens and environments. Throughout the project, we constantly balanced ambition with the technical time and constraints of ShapesXR. So in the beginning, we had tons of big ideas, but we also found out that we had to be realistic with what was achievable in the time that we had, but also with the tools that we were working with. And this, of course, had a lot of effect on our final design decisions. But overall, the project and the process taught us to stay flexible, iterate quickly, and focus on what truly is the core of the experience, which is the conversations that people are having together about the future, really. So, yeah. Well,
yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. And we hope to see you at Innovation Insights.
Until it got canceled.
Unfortunately, Innovation Insights has been canceled until further notice.
And we mostly talked about when we skimmed through the project, we wanted to take Innovation Insight to show you guys how the experience actually would flow, and you guys can be a part of the conversation as well, and really put on the headset and really experience what we made. But has been canceled, and so now we can't really showcase the full scale of the project. But we would love some feedback, any thoughts, ideas. And maybe we can show you guys what we have as well.
Thank you for your presentation. As I was said before, I'm impressed by the work that you have done, and for me, it's fortunately that this Innovation Insights is not taking place this Thursday, because I wasn't able to come, and maybe now we can arrange something that I can see your final work. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's said before. I had really some inspiration by the presentation that you did. You said reflection leads to richer data, and I'm really curious about where you exactly base that conclusion on. So maybe you can elaborate a bit about that. And also what you were telling, that it is first very important that you create prompts that are more empathic. Maybe I can put it that way, which was something that is very, very logical, but what we weren't doing at all. So that really made me think maybe we have to reframe some of our experience in a more personal way. So that were some key findings, or what I already took out your presentation. But can you explain a little bit more about how you saw that reflection leads to richer data, and also how did you make this distinguish between discussion and dialogue? So how can you steer that? So maybe you can say something about that.
Okay, so for the first question about how we found out that reflection leads to better
Richer
quality,
data.
richer data, quality data, maybe I can share my screen to showcase what we had before.
Yeah,
Share
I
my
can
computer.
I can stop sharing here.
Can you guys see? Can you guys? Yeah. This is one of the first this is our user test plan that we made as first iteration. As you guys can see, it's highlighted over here in red. This were the first. So over here, this is the prompt that we had before to allow AE drones to reach people faster. And then we wants to create again. First iteration should be: the city wants to create direct flight corridors over parks and protected green spaces. Should these routes be allowed? Now, again, this type of question, it's when you ask students, it's kind of hard for them to answer, but they can, when you're set in the sphere and with you see how the drones fly and you see the animations, you can understand what the context is of this sort of question, and they can say, yeah, I think it's okay, or they will say like, I don't think it's fine. I know this area, and I don't wouldn't want drones flying around anywhere around this area. And of course, we added these sub prompts since we thought the conversation, in especially in VR, reached to a dead end very quick. So they stop conversating a bit faster than we expected. So again, the sub prompts were always there to help the conversation keep flowing. An example: should saving human lives outweigh protecting wildlife? Was up. It's a bit of a heavy sub prompt, but especially this one, would you answer change if, or is it should? There was one of them that really, let me see which one it was. I think it was the who benefits most from the system, or how does human, anyways. So these sub prompts were a bit too hard to answer, and people couldn't they would think they thought they weren't the right people to be questioned with these subprompts, because again, more like a liability thing. Who would really be the best to question this?
They felt like they weren't the ones that were able to answer the question, and they felt like the question had to be answered by somebody else, maybe like the government or a healthcare worker. They felt like they didn't have, or they weren't in the position to answer a question like that.
So by this, we wanted to improve, to make them more personal, give them more of a personal experience, make them rethink how it would be to be in their shoes, or how would it be to be in the shoes of the prompt. So does the presence of the drones make you feel safer or more uncomfortable? It makes them think, how do it makes you feel of having seen these drones flying around you? Are these situations where you would want this kind of monitoring, especially for this type of prompt? In monitoring natural areas, it's near a recreational lake, so the participants are questioned if they would want monitoring in this type of environment, and where they will be bathing, playing around, and I don't know, maybe eating and drinking, and so would they want to be monitored while just enjoying life? When do you think monitoring becomes too much? It makes, compared to these sub prompts, it makes the questions more easy to answer, and it makes it brings room for more conversation instead of who benefits most from the system. They don't really know how to answer that to a prompt about constantly monitoring natural areas, and like who would benefit from. I couldn't even answer that question.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make them a bit more easy to answer and a bit more down to earth.
And it also makes them or helps them reflect on the question and how something like this could affect their own daily life. So instead of asking how would it affect others, we ask them how would it affect you? How would you feel about it? And all of the questions are really personalized and
Yeah.
grounded in kind of them. So
Yeah.
with that,
Another example here is who should be responsible if a AE drone made a mistake. We don't know how to answer that. So making them more personal. Would your answer be different if a person needing help was a stranger, a family member, or yourself? Makes them think about a loved one, or somebody that needs in dire help, and they could imagine they can see these agents coming to help them. It makes them feel more empathy, or makes them really want to understand and think about how would this happen. How could this happen to me?
Yeah, and just generally, I think just reflect on it on a more personal level too. But I think this helped because you noticed also that the way when we would ask the first iteration of some prompts, a lot of times people didn't really know what to answer, and they also felt a little uncomfortable answering something like that. So changing it and helping them reflect on the whole scenario a little bit more personally really helped with how much they replied back, and also I think it also just gave a little bit more of their personal mentality, which we find to be feedback that's really rich instead of them answering like they are someone else. So yeah.
I forgot the second question. Linda, if you can remind me.
Kind of a combined reply. Yeah.
The second question was about how you create dialogue and not a discussion. But maybe there are also other questions from instant Marike or.
Yeah, I have a question about thank you, first of all, very insightful, and this really helps us a step further in what we are trying to do. And one a question I had is related to that actually, because you mentioned two things that I noticed that are very interesting. One is the one that gets richer data. What was it again? Something get richer data.
Go back to the presentation.
Let me see here.
Reflection. I think it's the one same. Reflection.
You said reflection leads to richer data.
Reflection,
yeah.
right. Reflection gets richer data, and shared experience creates better discussion or dialogue. And I was actually wondering, what is your idea of what actually richer data is and what a better dialogue is? How do you know? How do you quantify maybe whether you have reached a better dialogue or richer data?
Of course, I think
I actually think I don't know if Golden would be up to answering the question, as he was mainly the one to analyze a lot of the transcripts between the the participants.
I can give you a time to think as well. I think as the moderator, yeah, I mean I had to listen to their perspectives and their opinions of what they thought about the prompts. And I think the parts that made me more interested in their opinion or made me really think about is when they would again bring personal experience. They would talk about their home, they would talk about their family, they would talk about their religion, they would talk about where they grew up and why they think this would be beneficial instead of detrimental. And of course we don't want to make discussion, we want dialogue, not discussion. So having the scale and not making them come to an agreement and just having them say their opinion about the prompt, just saying I agree with this prompt and saying I don't agree with this prompt, and not making them come to an agreement, because then they're just going to go into a discussion and say no, this is better because this is this. Imagine if you had to do this, it's not, that's not rich, that's just them trying to win each other over. So that yeah, as the moderator, I think of course the skill really helped in not making and just letting them openly express what they thought. And yeah, I think bringing up personal experiences and their own background to the experience really helped making it more interesting. What do you think, Golden?
Actually, so from the user test to analyze the transcript that we have. We do test a lot from the things, so I spend a lot of time trying to analyze it, but it's a long ago. So what from it is like people got from like okay, we both agree on a topic, maybe like medical terms as this example, but maybe we have like a different insight from the agreement. Like from me, it's like, okay, I got the old man in my house, so it's pretty much convenient or much safer that I can put this such an emergency stuff with it's care about life care, so it's pretty much important. But for others, probably like it's emergency, but on the road might be like traffic jams. For example, if I live in the city, cars are getting by pretty much. So it's pretty much like a different side insight with the topic that we live in the different places, so we see from different opinions, and that's why it comes out like different. But we're taking reflections from our life by ourselves, so we can know about more that what are we thinking about for like a futuristic topic that we have in our life. And that comes out with the whole user test, 6 user test having. As like for we have a user test with Ferry and Evelyn. Yeah, they are living in Netherlands, and we have a insight to the Netherlands actually, like the sending milk, the milk guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we have. Like that's something that I don't have in my country. That's completely different. So yeah, this is what I think.
Yeah.
From there.
And I think for me as well, as afterwards, I took what Golden analyzed and then kind of compared it with the language analyzer that Marika provided. And I think that to us, at least, what richer data meant was how many, or at least I would say how open people felt to go and take the conversation into multiple different directions, so that we have information and opinions from multiple perspectives of different people, and based off of their like lived experiences as well. So I think that's kind of what we all, funnily enough, kind of concluded, I think, from what Golden researched and then what I did, and also Arthur as a moderator. Just like he said, having people maybe bring up their reasonings because religion or background or stuff like that. Those I feel like are very valuable perspectives to gain on these future technology, I think, as a whole. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And one other follow-up question on that. What was the experience for what was it like for the people that were in discussion with each other? Did it change something for them, or how did they feel during or after it?
We've had a lot of every time we would go through the user test, we would finish off with a few reflection questions. We would ask them how they feel. Are you more concerned or excited? Of course, they would say, I'm excited, or they would be, I'm more concerned if this would be an actual scenario in the near future. So I guess that's one of them. People
Yeah.
would just say, are they really concerned or really excited?
I think
That was
also like a big thing that we noticed was we initially conducted user tests with slightly similar prompts just on paper prototypes, just to test the interaction itself. So we had no accompanying visuals of how these prompts would actually look like. And people usually imagine things that were way more drastic than what actually is being developed or not, which is what I think was also really important in illustrating it for the high fidelity prototype, was that we created these visuals based off of feedback that we got to make them based in real technology that's being developed. So no, a drone hub is not going to look like this huge building with like all of these drones coming out and crazy 24-hour surveillance with face scan and everything like that. But it kind of grounded them a little bit more into how it would realistically look like, potentially at least.
And for the conversation itself inside of the experience, we thought of ways to make them more comfortable as possible, since this is a VR headset they had to put on their head. And at the conversations, again, we gave them a little bit, the idea is to, ideally, you give them one prompt and they'll take as long as it needs to take. If it's short, you would give them another prompt, but maximum 20 minutes, 25 minutes, is it does get tiring wearing the headset. And we at first had them standing, which was one of the worst tests we or
Worst rated feedback.
worst way to, because it's more tiring to stand and have the headset on and move around and think. So we kept thinking, how do we make this more comfortable, and how can we make it more of a natural conversation? That was our driving goal, since that's the most important, was having the conversation. So
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I see Mike needed to go. She's still
Yeah.
here. She left.
Yeah.
sorry, sister.
Oh, I'm also very pleased to hear the feedback on what you experience with standing with the VR goggles on, because that's something that we haven't experienced before. So that is new information. So that is also for us very valuable. So yeah, I find your experience really valuable also in the conversation, and also what you see as rich data. I think we can use that also in analyzing the, the 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 conversations that we have already gathered.
Yeah. Well, I think we're really happy to hear that.
Yeah. We tried making this experience as fun as possible for everybody. That, again, that means comfortability. The questions that they're going to be asked, of course, has to be important for Design Lab as well. But with the personal sub prompts, it makes it easier for people to answer. Again.
Yeah.
But what is your final conclusion on? Do you think that VR helps people to have this dialogue, or is it just something that is getting in the way of this dialogue? Also, because you said, because people think about this technology in a more dramatic way than we have visualized at the end, and perhaps that almost make them imagine less about this technology than they could if they are not using this VR. So that's really interesting, right? So,
course.
what is your final conclusion? Would you advise to use VR, or do
That's
we
a-
have to continue without VR?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say personally, I'm gonna go first. I think it's fun to illustrate how the future would look like. I think that's always interesting, and it's always fun to go inside of it, use the controls, and it was very fun for us to put our sticker down and put our opinion. It was like a game, so you gamify the research. But of course, you need a balance. That's why I think the max, maybe one prompt, 20 minutes, because the VR for me as the moderator, because I have to be in there as well, it does get tiring, but it is very fun to see the scenario and everything and interact in it, and you can do way more with VR. You can do so much more VR, so that you can take. But I think you should limit it to how long, because people are going to get tired and they're going to be like, I don't want to answer anymore.
And I would also say something similar, is that I think for the data itself, so the conversations themselves, I think that maybe VR might not be so necessary in visualizing how these future technologies could look like. But I do think that VR is a good way to get more people involved, because, like Arthur said, you are gamifying something that yeah, if you just do a survey or an interview and show a few videos, it's not as fun, and maybe you won't have as many people wanting to participate in it as if you made it a whole VR experience, and you made it this whole thing that kind of makes people want to try it out, yeah, and make people more interested. So I think that rather than the conversations themselves, I think the amount of people joining is a little bit influenced by that.
I think VR is a great technology to visualize the future technology, and I think there's a new product that we call Meta glasses. So it's really small and convenient. I think maybe one day we can actually put this kind of conversation or this kind of app inside the Meta glasses, so everyone can put on just the small glasses we have, like Christians having. That's like a Meta glasses. What if we can put in the Meta glasses? It could be very convenient and actually with the VR glasses, very big. With the 20 minutes and you will get tired with the heavy.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there's a future way that
it can evolve
with more kind of other ways with the VR.
I'm not gonna repeat what all my group mates said. What all my group mates say, because I pretty much agree. Like there are pros and cons, but it's pretty uncomfortable wearing a VR headset for such a long time. We also had some complaints that people just couldn't adjust like the strap on the back of the head, stuff like that. I think the VR could be nice if specific conditions are met, like they're seated down, they're fully strapped, and they're comfortable. But as it is right now, probably a bit better ways to go about it. I'm just gonna give an idea. If you had like unlimited budget, you can just make the entire room to be like the wall sort screen, and you can do like basically what we did, but in real life. I mean, that's not gonna be very like possible, but
ideally.
But that's like the perfect scenario where our idea and your idea can
live.
Find.
Okay, thank you for sharing your opinion. So we have to go to create this how you call it, this hologram ish room with a projection, something like that. Okay, when we have not a lot of more budget, then maybe we can consider that.
Yeah,
we already have that one, Linda. So
okay.
Yeah, there is an R10. There's a digital playground, which is a LED wall which you can interact with and can also show future scenarios. Unfortunately, it's not portable, so that the thing what they show off with. Yeah, So it's nice that it's in a location, but it's not portable to set up on the streets of Eindhoven, for example. So that's there is the downside of that part compared to the VR headset. Another question I got for you guys. So you made your prototype in virtual reality. The previous group did build it in augmented reality. Is there any part you want to say about that? So is there any advances or disadvantages to build this prototype or to continue in augmented reality or virtual reality? And what's the pros and cons from that?
Yeah,
I think you could do both. I think augmented reality is also a route you can take. I think it's also depending on how you make it look. The previous team, they made like a small city scale with the characters running around.
Mhm.
It's a way, right? But I feel like the way we went about it, making it human life-size scales, it really makes it more realistic, or makes it a bit more makes your imaginations become some sort some
forces you a bit more as well,
Yeah.
because you're really put into a world and you can be put into different environments and
You're more
like
you're more part of the immersion than
Yeah,
than
Exactly.
you're an observer.
Exactly.
You mean that's
Yeah.
the biggest difference in that case.
Exactly.
Okay, that's something to take into account. And another thing you mentioned, so you had some tops to go for VR, and that's also a part where we're going to continue this research on. If VR, the big question is that if VR can help that ethical discussion and get the discussion more in depth. And you were answering on that part is also that you're not sure about that the data collected in VR might not be richer than a normal discussion forum. That was kind of a downside. It's more like you're doubting about that. And what is needed to make, in your opinion, to make that sure that it's more a valid answer to that? So that's the part where we has to go next as a research group. So what is your opinion about that? How can we do that?
Well, I think
That's a good question.
that's from what I mentioned earlier to Linda's question on whether or not VR was the right way. Yeah,
We can compare from the paper prototypes to the VR how the conversations would flow. And like we said, the VR, it's putting them in VR, it's not a natural conversation. You're inside of this room, and then now you have to conversate again. But usually conversations happen like this. I can see you,
Mhm,
you can see
yeah.
me, we can see our body language, and the VR is our virtual bodies. I think what I think first of all, I think would need to be done is let's say they put the headset on and they can still see each other, but the world around them still changes. Just like Kristen's idea, imagine it's just a space. Of course, you don't have to build the room, the immersive room and everything with all the screens. All you have to do is just put the headset on instead of you can still see the person, and you can still see your body and yourself, and it'll still make it more, and it just changes the space around you. I think that would be to make it. Yeah.
I will add to that though that I do. Yeah, I'm not sure about that as a solution a little, just because even though it is transparent, you still won't be able to see each other's faces. And I think that's a really important part of the conversation itself. So seeing how another person is reacting, and the VR glasses usually sit really big on your head, so you won't even really be able to make eye contact with the other person. But if there was a way, like I think Golden mentioned with the meta glasses, where you could still have it feel real instead of looking at it on AR through a screen like this, kind of having best of both worlds would be the most ideal scenario, but we might be a little too early for that.
That should be the next test.
The next, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. And you were also an interesting insight, I think, is that it's fun to illustrate that it's a gamified way of doing a research survey. But a gamified way of doing a research survey can be done in a physical game as well. It doesn't have to be VR, for example. Is that something you said, yeah, that could also be a good idea to gamify it another way instead of VR?
I mean, I think it could be possible as long as the proper visualizations are shown. Because I don't think you necessarily always have to put someone in a specific environment to be able to get your point across, but for them to at least understand the technology and how this
Mhm.
technology would look like.
Okay,
So
so-
maybe there could be a way to do that as long as visualizations are shown. But that's just what I think.
I agree.
Okay, thanks.
Oh,
Good
another
job.
thing, sorry,
Yeah.
that I wanted to add really quick was that we did also play the Moral City Hunt board game as well. And that one was kind of based where everybody had to work together to come to a general consensus as well. I do think that the way we ended up going to where people agree to disagree worked, yeah, for our version, but I'm not sure how it would perform in a board game, because board games tend to also be a bit more competitive, and that's kind of the fun in it as well. So then maybe you would have to change some things a bit for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Cool. Thanks for your extra insights and for clarifying these insights for me. Yeah, thanks for presenting. And as you ended the presentation of, so Innovations Insight is unfortunately cancelled due to the expected weather. It is still possible to have a one-on-one session and have an experience, but that's up to you as a group and also up to Marike and Linda if they want and if it's possible, because the building is still open. It's not that we can host for yeah, over that 800 people they expect. So it's maybe something if Thursday doesn't fit, it's nice to have a handover physically in person so that at least Marike and Linda can experience the thing you built, so they know what really is the value of it, and that also leads maybe to a richer discussion by the handover of the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I mean, we are there on Thursday, so if Linda and Marika can pass by for a little bit for an hour, we can set it up and we can. I mean, we worked so hard on it. Might as well. It would be amazing if you guys can see it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the possibilities, of course, another day, but that's also possible if that's possible to Marike and Linda. So I'm not sure when there's another time we'll both maybe can be available to experience your prototype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really love to experience your prototype, but also next week on this Thursday I'm not able to come because I have this other big thing, and maybe if that doesn't also not continues, then we can perhaps meet. But Marike, I don't know if you were planned to go. No. And next week.
Thursdays is not my working days, and it's with all the things happening very hard to switch it. So yeah, it would be great if you guys can maybe come in another day, or we can visit you in Strijptee, or where are you based?
Yes.
And unfortunately, next week I'm also to a symposium in England, so I'm not able to come. So for me, it would be then in 2 weeks from now. So maybe you have to plan something with Marike and not with me.
Okay, I can figure a solution for us for now. We can record the whole experience, how it's simulate and everything, because most of us also will go back to our homes in vacation because next week is I think this is the final week of
it's
school.
like finals.
So we're not going to be here in 1 week or 2 weeks. So I think the solution for now could be we can send a proper video recording of how it would go,
will play out.
how it will play out, and for now, so you guys can at least see what we made and see how it will play out.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah.
Oh, that would be very generous for you
Because
from you
Gold
to
is
do
going to be
that.
the only one in the Netherlands, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you can set up it all, set it all. Maybe Gold and Fair you can set it up, but
But there is there's also a way we figured out to record the experience from
Yeah.
the moderator's perspective. So
So we
maybe we
can-
could do another user test and then record it so you guys
Exactly.
could see how
Maybe Thursday we can
Yeah,
not
Thursday
really
for
wear
sure.
school. We can do it for you, and we can send that.
Yeah.
And you can
Send
see what we made
the handover
So,
document as
and
well.
everything.
I think this could work, Arthur, in that way. We as coaches, so also Maaike, for example, wants to experience. I'm not sure. Did she already? Was no. So it's good to have Thursday afternoon, as we have enough space now to do that, and also place us in the recording so that you have we have experiences and you have the video with the examples for Marika and Linda at least.
Yeah,
Perfect.
definitely.
That would be
Right.
great.
And then
Well,
Thursday it is.
yes.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much for your work.
Thank you so
Again,
Thank you so
because
much.
we are very happy with what you came up with and all the insights that you have gathered. So thank you so much. Very valuable.
Thank you.
Thank you to you guys as well for your guidance during the creation of all of this and answering our questions and accepting our meeting links so often.
Yes.
But thank you. I think we all had a fun time working together on this and creating something
Really
that's fun.
Valuable as well.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
nice.
All right then.
Right.
I wish y'all a
Okay.
good day. Thank you guys so
Yes.
much. And I will send you the documents and the video on Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
nice
Okay.
day.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.